Well, here we are. Um, Welcome back to another episode of the Gridiron Jungle, hosted by your two favorite Bengals fan. I'm Rich with my brother Philly Phil. Phil had the genius idea of wanting to record on Sunday, just in case things didn't go our way in regards to making the playoffs. And obviously, as you know, right now, the Bengals have been eliminated from the 2024 NFL season playoffs. We are not in the tournament. We have the 17th pick in the 2025 draft. It is set in stone. Led the league in passing yards, passing touchdowns, sacks, receiving yards, receiving touchdowns, receptions. And we are sitting at home. But I am going to be the adult in the room and be the first. But no, I'm going to be the adult in the room and be the first one to say that's what happens when you don't take care of the business that you're supposed to take care of. And it's funny because I saw something, Phil, that game, that season opener, it kind of played both of us because we
Yeah,
missed the playoffs because we lost that game, and the Patriots lose out on the number one pick because they won that game.
right.
But those are games you got to win, and there's been a season full of those ups and downs. Probably one of the most frustrating Bengals seasons in recent memory, or maybe even of my lifetime. Just with
Mm-hmm.
all the talent and the things that we mentioned, but that's what it is. Here we are. Hopefully, it is a learning experience. Even though everybody's professionals, we don't need learning experiences like this. Um, but we didn't make it, and it sucks mainly because we were playing our best football at the right time. I think
Mm-hmm.
if we had already been in a good position and maybe lost 3 or 4 in a row to end the season and then not make the playoffs, I think it fares a different way. You're still frustrated, um,
Mm-hmm.
but maybe it works out better for us. Maybe we look at a change at the top versus our DC, and we're going to talk about a ton of different stuff, and we'll explain exactly what this is going to look like for us for the next few weeks since the Bengals won't be playing. We'll talk about Hard Knocks. We'll talk about some of the news that came out of camp. But thank you for being here with us, and as we talk about the 2024 season and what's next. Phil, now that we're officially eliminated, how have you been feeling, man? I know you've been going through it the past couple of days.
Man, I've been in the dumps, brother. I've been in the dumps, and mainly because, you know, because really that the opening statement that you made about that loss to the Patriots. I mean, there's of our 8 losses, 7 of them came on one possession or one score. However you want to word that. But the one that really haunts me is that opener. It's that one against New England. It's the one at home. Every other game that we lost, I think you could have made an argument at the beginning of the season that we could have potentially lost that game. Out, with the exception of that Patriots game. And that's the one game that you look at. We scored 10 points. Like
Yeah.
I wouldn't care if it was the number one defense in the league. We should never have a game where we scored 10 points. We should never have a game where Burrow throws for 164 yards. Like I said, that game haunts me. It was the opener, it was the first orange out, or whatever you want to call it. And
Mm-hmm.
I just, that's just the one that I can't shake. It eats me up, and I get angry thinking about it because I remember all the people that said, "Oh, Phil, calm down. It's just one game." No, no, no. That's what the preseason is for. That's when you tune up. As Lombardi called them, the country club off seasons. Yeah, that's cool when you're coming off a Super Bowl run or an AFC Championship run, but when you're coming off of missing the playoffs, you don't get the luxury of having a soft camp. You didn't earn that. So it's really frustrating that when I listen to these exit interviews or whatever you want to call them, and I hear Orlando Brown Jr. say it was a mindset thing. That falls on coaching. That doesn't fall on any of the scapegoats that you want to put it on, as far as the positional coaches and coordinators that were let go. That falls on Zach. If you can't get your team prepared and fired up to play week 1 at home, I don't know what to say. So, yeah, needless to say, I've been a bit frustrated.
Record versus the AFC North, 14-23. Overall
Hmm.
coaching record, 51,
Hmm.
54, and 1.
Hmm.
Record in the first 2 weeks of the season. 1-11. The thing that's saving them right now. 7 total games in the playoffs, 5 victories.
Yeah, and that's in
No
2
no
seasons.
Super Bowls, of course. He's got to. This has got to be the season, not this one we just ended, but the upcoming one, right? That's got to be the. This got to be the telltale. Once again, we kind of get blinded by good runs, because if we remember that Super Bowl run, it was the same type of thing. That Super Bowl run saved Zach, or got Zach extended.
Yeah.
I think this 5-game win streak kept him out of the hot seat. I don't know if they would have made a move anyway. I think we've talked about that already.
I mean, but
I don't
you
think they
brought it
would
up.
have.
You talked about, like, before we went on the run, obviously. You said, what if we lose these next 5, or what if we lose 4 of the 5, So,
I think that we're looking at things a lot differently right now if that was the case. But him winning those 5, or us winning those 5s, kept his job safe. Obviously, Lou is the one who got the can. Lou is an interesting conversation because 2022 was his best year by far. The best defense under the Lou era. This is probably the worst defense since he was a coach. I think he coached before he coached at Miami 1 year, I think, in 2015. And then there was like a 3-year gap where he wasn't a DC, and then came back in 2019 through now. And this year was not good for him. But honestly, if we look at the numbers, and we've talked about this on this podcast before, the bend but not break defense. The biggest thing is, if you play that way, you have to be really good in the red zone. You have to be really good at preventing touchdowns and forcing teams into field goals. He was able to do that in 2022. Our scoring defense was just not good. If you look at the passing touchdowns that we allowed, the rushing touchdowns we allowed, it just wasn't good. And that's kind of how it's been. Like I said, minus that 2022 season, Lou is one of those interesting coaches where we love him a lot more than we probably should. When you think of everything as a whole, I hate to see him go. Even with that being said, even looking at those stats today of total team defense, of what he's done on average over the past few years and where he ranks in the NFL. Even with that said, I still think that he has something to give. But something had to change. Unfortunately, it was Lou. I would have liked for it to be Zach, but the age-old question: if you get rid of Zach, who's coming in? And I don't know the answer to that right now. I don't know, man. It's just an interesting time. It's just weird. I can't believe we won't be playing in Buffalo this upcoming week.
And this wasn't, Lou's worst performance. This defense actually improved from last year if we're looking at total defense. And we also have to look at what he was given on defense. We played this entire season without a cornerback one. Our best corner this year was a guy that made his first stab at being a starting outside corner. We had the sack leader, and he had more sacks than everyone else combined on the team. We had poor safety play. Trying to replace Jesse Bates with Nick Scott and Geno Stone. Like, that's not Lou's fault. Giving him Miles Murphy, who has 0 sacks in 13 games this year. Like, yeah, you can put some of that on coaching and development, but these dudes been playing football their entire life. Like, if you can't go out there and win one-on-one matchups, that's not coaching. Like, Miles Murphy's not ever seeing a double team. Like, the fact that you didn't register any sacks, that's not on Lou. Guys have been in position. If guys at this level aren't bright enough to learn an intricate defense, that's not Lou's fault. Yeah, he should have made adjustments sooner. And yeah, he did make adjustments down the back end, which definitely supported that 5-game win streak to end the season. But, and yeah, you're right. Maybe we do love Lou more than we should. But, I think he did the best with what he was given. And the thing that you always make me look at, as far as my approach, when you're looking at replacing Lou, who are you gonna go get that's better?
That's my next question.
That's my question. Because he only had a year left on the contract, so maybe it didn't make sense to let him finish that. And then there's 1 season left with a DC coming in as a sitting duck, and it's not really attractive in that sense. But when you look at the two candidates so far that have been named as potential replacements, Patrick Graham, who served as the DC in Miami, I believe he actually overlapped with Zach. No, he didn't. He didn't. Patrick Graham, who was the DC in Miami for one season, they were ranked 30th that season. He had a couple seasons in with the Giants up and down there, and most recently had 3 seasons with the Raiders, and they've been pretty consistent on defense. Their offense was abysmal this year outside of Bowers, but their defense was okay. And then the other candidate, Robert Covington, who was a first-year defensive coordinator this season with the Patriots, their defense did rank slightly better than the Bengals, but that's the same defense with the same players that was top 10 defense under Belichick. So yeah, I know Belichick is the GOAT, but that's some heavy regression there. I don't know if that's the guy that you want to tap to go lead your defense. And if you recall, if you think about any time Zach had to fill a coaching position, they haven't been the best hires. I remember his first O-line coach that he hired, Jim Turner. We couldn't get him out of here fast enough. We were begging Frank Pollock to come back. He was the run game coordinator. The run game was very improved this year. Who does that credit go to? If the O-line was so bad, if the coaching was so bad, Orlando Brown was having the absolute best season of his career by far. Prior to his injury, Ted Karras had the best season of his career. Amarius Mims was out there balling, shutting out top end defensive coordinators. So yeah, I know, I've been hard on Zach. We both been hard on Zach, and a lot of it does come on coaching. But if you're gonna make the decision to get rid of those type of veteran coaches that are respected amongst the league, you might as well clean house, in my opinion, because if you go get one of these young, kind of unproven defensive coordinators, who's gonna mentor them? Who's gonna guide them? Who's gonna hold them accountable? The head coach job is to coach the coaches. I mean, yeah, I don't know. I mean, again, that falls on Zach. So I don't know, man. It's really frustrating. And I as hard as it is for me to do, I want to refrain from even commenting until there's a hire, because I just get frustrated, ahead of time, thinking about who the potential replacements can be. It sounds like they're not going to go after the splashy, proven names that, most fans would want. So it's going to be interesting to see how it shakes out. And
there's a lot of things that we need to work on, and we'll have draft coverage this off season and stuff like that, so we don't have to get too deep into it. I mentioned earlier we're going to pick 17th. We talked on this podcast before about positions of need. Obviously, I don't know if either one of us added guards in there, but both of our guards need to be upgraded. I'm happy with our center, happy with our tackles. Yeah, we definitely need that guard play updated. I don't see us picking one at 17. I think that's way too early. However, it definitely needs to be on the agenda. I wouldn't be mad if we left the draft with 3 or 4 guards, just to kind of see what's going to work and what happens. Talking about the defense, you said something interesting to me earlier when we talked on the phone, and you said we really need to consider trading Trey. Let's talk about it. I want you to get into it a little bit more. The reasoning why, I'm sure you're not the only person that thinks that. It does make sense. I don't disagree with you. And we had a nice back and forth about compensation. And I don't listen. I'll be the first to tell you, trying to gauge what the value is in the NFL is just a little bit different. I'm not sure exactly what we could get for Trey. It's not like the NBA. You're not getting first rounders for Trey. He's 30 years old. Even though, let me ask you this: is Trey going to win Defensive Player of the Year?
I think he should. If he doesn't, then my vote would probably go to Patrick Surtain. But I definitely think he should win Defensive Player of the Year. But
would you be shocked if he didn't?
No, I wouldn't be shocked, because the league and the voters hate us. We're not respected. So the fact that we didn't make the playoffs, whether we had a winning record or not,
we'll get to Trey here in a second. But now that I'm thinking about it, is Ja'Marr going to win Offensive Player of the Year?
Again, I think he should, but I wouldn't be surprised if they gave it to Saquon, or they gave it to the quarterback that doesn't win MVP.
I think if Saquon would have won, if Saquon would have broken the record, they would have given it to him. I think the fact that he said, I think you got to give it to the Triple Crown winner, right? I think you have to
I
give
mean,
it to Ja'Marr.
I think Joe should be the MVP, but it's the politics of the award, and
That politics, I understand. I understand
so,
the politics in that. Everything else is not as political. But either way, going back to Trey, you think it's time to move on from him? What do you want to do with that money? What do you hope to get back? And what's your reasoning behind it? Because a lot of people while some people might agree with you, there are going to be some people say, "Hey, why would you trade the defensive player of the year?" So I'll
for
let you
sure.
explain and get into that.
So one, his value is high as it will possibly ever be. Again, I don't know exactly what that value is. I think about Khalil Mack getting traded. He was at age 27 when they got a first and a 6th-round pick. No, 2 ones, a 3 and a 6. So, obviously that's 3 years age difference. So I don't know. Maybe you can get a second and a third. Maybe you can get a 1 and a 6, which is half of that deal that Khalil Mack drew. I don't know. If it's a 1, I'm sure it's very, very late. But, Trey demanded a trade request this past offseason. He wants an extension. The Bengals aren't going to pay Ja'Marr, and Trey. I'm just being honest and realistic. And this defensive unit with Trey Hendrickson leading the league in sacks was 25th in total defense. So I mean, it's a bottom tier defense with the best edge rusher in the league. So I think the only option you have is to move on from Trey, and you use that draft compensation that you get for him and strictly draft defensive end and pray that one of them hits. But that's, I mean, you gotta find a way to rebuild this defense, because I mean, why else did you fire your defensive coordinator? Why else are you about to start from scratch essentially with your defense? I mean, there's no cornerstone on this defense outside of Trey. And are you going to build a defense around a 30-year-old defensive end? I wouldn't.
It's interesting. It sucks that we have to talk about stuff like this because it's a realistic thing. It's interesting though, man. I'm a big believer in offensive defensive line.
Trench. I mean, the game is won in the trenches. There's no question
Yeah.
about that. I mean, you have
What
to
you're saying
replace them. Yeah, but
yeah, what you're saying is absolutely right. It makes perfect sense. I don't know, man. It all just really depends on who will be interested in what we're getting in return. We need something on defense. But your point is we still have a bottom tier defense even with the production that he put out. So how can we manufacture that? I guess a lot of these answers aren't going to be. I can't picture them until I figure out who we're hiring, what our scheme's going to be, everything else. So I don't know, man. It makes sense, and I think in the right scenario we could get it done. I just want to make sure that we have something in line. I guess the biggest thing for me is going into the next season. I'm at a loss, and I don't know what we need to do as far as getting the start to these seasons off much better. Obviously, we're going to have more of the contract talk. What's going to go on with T? Once again, that's something that we'll discuss more in our offseason conversations. Ja'Marr's contract, something we'll discuss more in our offseason conversations. But my biggest fear is that nothing changes in regard to a heartbreaking end to the season. And here we are in September, October of next year, and we're looking at 2-4 or 1-3 or something crazy. Like, I'm going to lose my mind if that's the case. And I don't know what this team needs to do. And I thought this was the year. I thought this was the year that everything was going to click. I remember Joe playing that first preseason game. I think it was against the Bucks. That first touchdown drive to T. Higgins. Ja'Marr was out. You just knew it. Everything was clicking. Joe was healthy. Everything was going. And the Patriots game just took everything off course. And we never fully recovered until the end of the season. And I just want to make sure we're consistent. And we're not going to get a new coach. I know that we thought that was going to be part of the problem or part of the resolution. That's not going to happen. I just cross my fingers and hope we can get it done because we do not have a We don't have the toughest schedule in the league. Somehow the Giants got that for 2025, but we still have a pretty hardy schedule outside of the divisional opponents. We do have Detroit coming to Paycor next season. We're gonna have Arizona coming to Paycor, which you and me both. I'm sure I would not be surprised if that's a primetime game. We're going to have the Cardinals at Paycor.
Real quick, I just gotta interject. It is now TBA Stadium. We have no idea. It's not gonna be Paycor.
Yeah. That's good. That's a great point. That's a great point because Paycor did get bought out for like $4 billion. $4.1 billion or something like that. Something crazy.
And we also found out that the Bengals got $67 million in that naming rights deal from Paycor. So $67 million, 66.7 was what they got in that naming rights deal.
Yeah, split up the pie, man. Give them to the players. Y'all know what it is. We got a revenge game against the Patriots at home next year. And then we have the Jets and the Bears as well. On top of the Jags. All going to be home opponents. I feel good about our home schedule. Granted, I felt good about our home schedule this past year. But honestly, if you talk about those games where you just look at on paper, Jags at home, Patriots at home, Cardinals at home, Bears at home, Jets at home. Those should all be winnable games. We should not have a home record the same way we did this year. Once again, outside of division opponents on the road, we're at Buffalo. Y'all know how we feel about Buffalo. We got their number. We own Buffalo. Like, that's not even – they strike zero fear in me or Phil. Zero fear. Like, none whatsoever. I don't care what kind of season they something about them. They just don't fear me at all. Or we don't fear them at all. The Broncos, so at Denver, we definitely need to get our lick back there. At Green Bay, so at Lambeau, we don't go there often. At Minnesota, and then at Miami. If we don't make the playoffs next year, Zach got to go.
Oh, without a doubt. I mean, this year was Super Bowl or bust, and you only get one shot at firing a coordinator. You only get one shot at essentially clearing house, so to speak. This kind of reminds me of when Marvin made that last ditch effort and fired Terrell Austin and took over the defense itself. This kind of gives me remnants of that. Granted, it was at the end of the season versus mid-season because Marvin was in the last year of his deal. But it definitely gives me that kind of feeling. I'm hoping that Zach feels the pressure, because pressure either makes diamonds or bursts pipes. So
the crazy thing about this is I low key want to go to all the non-divisional away games.
Yeah,
Buffalo's like within 3 hours from where I live in Cleveland. So that's the easy trip. Denver, I just love Denver, so why not?
Absolutely.
Don't know if that'll happen, but I do love Denver. Green Bay, just love to see a game at Lambeau, especially if the Bengals are playing there. I think that would be a cool time. Minnesota, I just want to go to that stadium. Never been to Minnesota. That'd be a good time. In Miami, Phil's never been to Miami, so we already confirmed we gotta go. Even though Miami, if you've been down there, and you're listening, Miami is different in your 20s. Like outside of your 20s, it's a different experience. Unfortunately, Phil missed the 20s boat, but we can still try to introduce him to South Beach. It is what it is.
It was just never a place that was on my list, man.
Yeah, never in the cards. But yeah, as far as our games go at home, the only one I'm really excited about to go to is the Detroit game.
Hey, man,
don't get me wrong, I'm excited for all the games, but the only one I'm really looking for that's going to be like a barn burner. I can't believe I used the term barn burner. But the only one I look forward to is really that Detroit game. Everything else should be cool, but we'll see. You never know how these seasons shake out. You never know what surprise team's going to be, 6-1 in the middle of the season, all that kind of good stuff.
And we've talked about it throughout this entire season, man. Paycor gets it. Oh, I'm sorry. TBA
home stadium.
Pay Ja'Marr Chase Stadium. It's always rocking, man. So I'm looking forward to all the home games. I definitely am looking forward to that revenge game. I plan on talking greasy to any and every Patriots fan that's there. I'm still angry from week 1, as we've already discussed. I got a handful of friends that are Bears fans, so I think that'll be a fun game. And I mean, Kyler Murray, that team was actually pretty decent this year, so that could be an interesting game. And I'll be honest, we're gonna have a new defensive coordinator. There's gonna be some growing pains. These games will probably be interesting. So, um, yeah, I'm sure your Apple Watch will be telling you your heart rate is going crazy again through a handful of them home games. So, I won't read too much into the schedule right now as it stands.
Yeah, it doesn't really matter. We'll figure it out more as we go along. So, um,
But I
yeah,
got to
man,
get to
just
Baltimore, man. That's the only divisional rival I haven't been to. So I'm hoping I can make that happen this year. I need to check that off the bucket list.
yeah, I'm sure that won't be an issue. I'm sure that won't be an issue at all. Um, yeah. Um, as far as what's coming out, I don't know if you have anything else to talk about with the Bengals themselves. We watched Hard Knocks. Obviously, it was just different. It was disappointing. We had the episode about me going to the game, so we don't need to cover
Hmm.
that. But just kind of
Yeah.
reliving it. It was great to see that win. Great to see us pull it out. But also disappointing to see in real time what it was like to see the Chiefs just get destroyed 38-0. Once again, I don't blame the Chiefs. If you look
No,
at it on paper, it makes sense for them. I'm not saying they duck smoke. However, it's just one of those things that's
I
going
mean
to
they
add a little
did.
wrinkle into the rivalry. They did, but they didn't.
Yeah.
I
They
honestly
did,
think
but
their
I'm not
starters.
mad at them. I mean, I get it.
Yeah, I think their starters wanted to play us.
Yeah, I mean, I
I
think
think
that
if
any
this,
competitor wants to go out there for sure. I would think.
but really, what this comes down to is, I know we're saying that the Chiefs rivalry just has an extra wrinkle to it now because of that, but even though we don't need any more motivation, the Steelers are really what is causing all of this. Because if the Steelers come out on Christmas Day and actually play like they have some sense and beat the
Hmm.
Chiefs, then the Chiefs are
Hmm.
forced to play week 17 or week 18,
Yeah,
play their starters and things like that. The Steelers just laid an egg. It's going to be very
yeah.
interesting to see them. You
But
want to talk about some lines? You want to talk about some lines since we're here?
we, I mean, we can talk about some lines, but I will say, in my opinion, I think the Steelers team that we've seen the past 4 weeks is the real Steelers team. This team is overachieved all
Yeah,
season. They're
that's
gonna
why.
get they're gonna get talking about lines. Whatever the Ravens line is, I'm taking it.
That's why I wanted to know. Do you know what the Ravens line is right now?
I
You
don't.
know
I
what that
haven't
line
even
is?
looked.
What's your guess?
Mm-mm. 8.
Saturday evening, Saturday 8 p.m. game.
Mm-hmm.
8 minus 8,
Minus
minus
8. Yeah.
10.
10. Okay. Yeah. I can
I
see
just
it.
hate. I hate divisional. Um, we should have the 1-800 the
Oh.
disclaimer. If you have a gambling problem, please call 1-800 gambler. All of
Don't
that. We're
call
not
me.
professional capper. Yeah, we're
Don't
not
call
professional
me.
cappers. This is just us talking for fun. We're not giving out advice. We're not giving out picks. We're just having conversation, really about the games based on the lines. So we're not telling you to take a team one way or another, but Phil and myself are the disgusting brothers. We are a
Absolutely.
couple of degenerates. So I looked at that line, and the first thought was third meeting of the year, playoffs, plus 10 is just a lot of points. But then I thought about what you just said, 4 games in a row, 4 losses in a row. This Steelers team is just bad, and they don't have any kind of good energy or the good karma going to them right now. I could
Mm-mm.
definitely see this being a 13-point game, even though I probably won't touch it. It just seems like 10 points in the playoffs against a divisional rival just seems way too high. I would not be surprised if the Steelers have some pride and play it close, but it also wouldn't shock me if it's a Ravens Texans Christmas Day score as well. Like, I think they
I,
could really
I
run. They can run Pittsburgh out the building.
I might take Ravens first quarter, first half game, run it up.
Yeah, I definitely see first half, second half, first half full game. If you can find that out there, I'm not sure what those odds are. Matter of fact, let me just check this out real quick because I am curious to know if I can find it. Um, yeah, it's minus 190, so it won't even be worth playing.
Yeah, but it could
Pittsburgh
be a
first half,
parlay
Ravens
piece
second
if
half. Yeah, it could be a
you know.
parlay piece if you feel that confident. But you say Baltimore smokes Steelers and it's not even close.
I think it's definitely gonna be a two-score game, so I like them to cover the 10.
I got you. Even if it's a push, I see that happening.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. I mean, if you can get it at 9.5, I don't typically like to take half points. Or if you see a line that's 9.5 and you want to buy it down to 9, yeah, I love it.
I would
If you
definitely buy it down to 9.5. You could probably get 9.5 for maybe one minus 130, minus 125. If you can do that, I
Yeah,
definitely take that because I definitely think it's going
definitely.
to be a two-score game as well.
And I'm sure there'll
But
be some boosts
Saturday,
out there.
the game that kicks off the playoffs Saturday, Chargers at Texans. And let me just stop real quick just to give everybody an idea what's going on. So since the Bengals aren't in it, we're going to come back on Tuesdays. So we'll get back to our Monday recording schedule. Actually, this first week we will record on Tuesday because there is a Monday Night Football game. So in order to discuss that, we'll record on Tuesday, drop on Wednesday. Everything after that should be dropping on Tuesday morning. We're going to be covering the playoffs, just kind of giving our thoughts, recaps of them, and then also predictions for the upcoming week, kind of like we're doing now. Maybe even add the gambling element where we talk about the spreads. Once again, not gambling advice, just giving our thoughts on what we think. And we'll probably have a lot more in detail reasoning on why we feel this way. This is just kind of off of the cuff right now. But the game that's kicking off the playoffs, we have the Los Angeles Chargers at the Houston Texans. You haven't looked at any of these lines, have you?
I just put them up as we were talking
Oh,
about
okay, then
that
I
first
was
one.
gonna
So,
ask if you hadn't looked. I was gonna say, man, I just want to see what you think. All right, so we know the Chargers are favored by 3, favored by a field goal on the road against Houston. What's your feelings on that one?
yeah. So, it is as much as I would like to take the Texans and CJ Stroud, D'Amico Ryans, I just think with all the injuries they're dealing with, I just don't think they're equipped to beat a Jim Harbaugh coach team. I mean, this is where the Harbaugh shines. So I expect both Harbaughs to advance on Saturday. I do think it'll be a hard fought game because these are two physical teams. But ultimately, I just think the Chargers being a bit healthier, playing better football will prevail. And I do think they'll probably cover that 3.
Yeah, I see 24-20 Chargers.
Mm-hmm.
Dare I say, even I wouldn't be surprised if it's a 17-13 type of game.
I could see that type of game.
It's definitely going to be a ground. Harbaugh's going to try to control the clock.
Mm-hmm.
I think the Texans are going to try to get some big plays and some explosive plays, but I don't know if they have it right now.
Right.
I just don't think. I just think the Chargers are going to be locked in, and like you said, Harbaugh, they prepare for these moments. And as we've been saying on this podcast for the past few weeks, this time of the season doesn't matter how you get it done, doesn't matter how it looks. You just got to get that dub, and that's all that matters.
Yeah.
I have to go with Harbaugh, man. I know he's been out of the league for a while, but
He
anytime he's
wins
been in the
everywhere he
playoffs,
goes, man.
his winning percentage is ridiculous. He knows how to win games like this. Even on the road, I think that he's going to have them ready for that. And I see the Chargers. I think I like them as the favorites. We got 3 games on Sunday. First game is going to be 1:00. We have Denver at Buffalo. The Bills right now are an 8.5-point favorite. Phil, what are your thoughts on that game?
I mean, this goes without saying, man. I don't know why, but I just absolutely hate the Bills, and I definitely see the Broncos covering this. I think they'll be the better coach team. I think they will be prepared to go on the road. I don't think the weather will be a factor. Um, you know, Granted, regular season is over. Bo Nix is no longer a rookie. He might be your rookie of the year, but he's no longer a rookie. This Broncos team is playing solid ball. I think these teams are pretty evenly matched just from a roster standpoint, as far as overall talent. So I could see it going either way, but I definitely do think Denver will cover the 8.5. At least that's the line that I'm seeing here currently. But I do
Yeah, it's
expect
8.5.
I do expect a close game. And I like the Broncos to get the upset, if I'm being honest.
Do you know what the weather is going to be in Buffalo this weekend by any chance?
Looks like it's gonna be 29 and cloudy.
So no snow or
So
anything like that.
nope.
So really, what I'm looking at is Sean Payton versus
McDermott.
yeah, I'm about to say I don't know why I was thinking about Dayball. But yeah, about McDermott. I'm not gonna be surprised if the
Battle of the
Bills win.
Shines.
I'm not gonna be surprised if the Bills win. I just don't see them covering 8.5. I think it'll be a 7-point win if they do win. 8.5 just
And
seems like a lot, especially with the way Bo Nix is out here slinging it. And I saw it firsthand when
slinging
he came
it.
to Cincinnati.
He was dropping 50-yard
Obviously,
bombs.
yeah, you gotta take Sunday's game with a grain of salt against the backup Chiefs. However, there
Yeah,
were some
for
balls
sure.
that just look beautiful, and I think they're clicking.
Mhm.
And once again, I think Sean Payton, he has some stuff up the sleeve for this game. Yeah, and I'm
And
not just not impressed with the Bills.
Buffalo, I mean, I mean, all good things come to an end. Buffalo's 8-0 at home this year. I think they're primed to take a loss. So
I kind of
uh,
trust those trends though.
I
I trust
mean,
those
trend
trends.
every
What?
trend gets broken. So
Yeah, I think. Listen, I think Buffalo's going to win. I just don't think
mhm.
they're going to win by 8.5 or more.
No, I get
I see.
I get
I
that.
see it being a 7-point game. But
Yeah,
it's not
I
going to
would
shock me.
I would play Denver plus 8.5. I would sprinkle Denver money line.
Matter of fact, the only upsets, the only underdogs that would not shock me would be
Would be
Denver and
Washington.
the next game that we're talking about. Honestly, well, Washington too. But I guess all Sunday games, I believe the underdogs could come out with a win.
You think Green Bay could beat Philly? You like that?
I think they could. I don't think they will, but I think they could.
I
And
just don't think they're
I like
playing
Green
good
Bay.
ball.
Yeah, the Watson injury hurts. Going on the road,
Mhm.
Philly is going to be a tough place to play. I think it could happen. I don't think it will happen. I think Philly is going to. I don't know the status of Jalen Hurts. I don't know if they've officially announced it. I don't see him missing this game.
Nah.
Once again, I see Philly covering the 5. I don't see Green Bay keeping it that close.
Mhm.
Even though Jordan Love plays his best ball in the playoffs from what we've seen.
Mhm.
But this ain't Dallas. This ain't indoors. This Philly defense has been showing up. They built a little bit different. Not really that thrilled about the Packers defense and what they've been producing. So while they've had a great season, and we got to remember, Jordan Love got hurt week 1. He's been hurt all season. Just not the
Mhm.
same kind of guy. I think their season ends this week. I see the Philly Eagles covering. I could be wrong. Like I said, it won't be shocked if the Packers could upset them. I just don't see it happening. What are your thoughts on that game?
No, I agree with that. I definitely think Philly wins. I think they cover. And I think it really just boils down to what you said. I just think this Packers team just isn't healthy enough right now. I mean, Josh Jacobs has been balling out. They've got those good young receivers, but they just haven't really been consistent overall. And I just, I just think Philly is the wrong team to draw first round for them, man. I just don't see them coming out of that game victorious.
Yeah, Philly is. And I want to be clear. Philly can easily. I think
The
I'm
only
gonna
way
say it right
Philly is
now.
gonna
I'm gonna
lose is
stand
if
on.
they
I'm gonna
beat
stand on the.
themselves.
I'm gonna stand on it right now. Philly going to the Super Bowl.
I will not go that far, but it wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah, Philly going to the Super Bowl. I'll stand on that right now. Um,
I'm gonna say
I think
Detroit
I,
is coming out of the NFC.
I think they go in Detroit on my birthday. Um, that's a AFC NFC Championship
Mhm.
weekend. I think they go in Detroit on my birthday and they get the job done.
Yeah, I
I don't
don't,
know,
but
man. I just saw them. I saw them coming to pay court this year, and I know it's not the same exact team, but
mhm.
you think about what
Uh,
we've been doing to teams. That was the last game where we just got smacked around.
yeah, that was like the only game we got. That's the only game we got smacked around. So,
I just think when they
I think,
locked in, they can be tough.
yeah,
Sirianni, that's the issue, right? That means that I'm betting with Sirianni, and that's going to be the
yeah,
downfall
we
because I
just
don't trust
hey,
him at all.
if we get that matchup, don't bet with the books, man. Bet with your brother, man, because I'm riding with the Lions.
Oh yeah, I would have to see what the line is. I would have to see what the line is.
For
Um,
sure.
I might tease it. I love a good 6-7 point tease. All right, night game for Saturday. The game where Jaden Daniels wins the Rookie of the Year. Even though I don't know when voting closes for that. I don't know if it's
Yeah,
at
I'm
the end
not
of Week
sure either.
18 or if they get into the actual playoffs. I'm sure it'd have to be at the end of the regular season. It
It's a
wouldn't be
regular
fair to keep.
season. Yeah,
Yeah, I'm about to say you can't keep judging players based off their playoff performance when everybody can't go.
correct.
Um,
Correct.
but I think Bo Nix loses during the first game, and I think Jaden Daniels wins this game at Tampa. Washington is a 3-point dog on the
Mm-hmm.
road Sunday night. Um, I don't know. I just believe in Jaden Daniels. I just think Dan Quinn has been there before. I know Ty Bowles has as well.
Mm-hmm.
But I just think Washington gets the job done. I just think they're too explosive on offense. and I haven't been the biggest fans of how the way the Bucks been playing recently.
Yeah, and yeah. This is probably what that game for me that I don't want to touch. I do lean towards taking the Commanders. I just think they're kind of been a team of destiny this year. I think it's just that that cool story that you kind of just see continue. I don't foresee them getting past any further than winning this weekend. Sorry about that, but
Bless you.
I'm rolling with you on your take there. I definitely think the Commanders pull out a close one, and I like them to cover the 3.
Same. And before we get to this Monday night game, I just want to let everybody know, just my personal opinion. I'm taking the unders in both of these hardball games. Just knowing this, I'm taking the under in both of them. Like I just
I
saying
actually like
any Steelers Ravens game, I'm taking the under for the most part.
Yeah.
And the Chargers Texans, I'm taking the under as well. What were you gonna say? You actually like what?
I was gonna say I think the Ravens alone are gonna put up 30 plus. So I kind of like the over in that Ravens Steelers, but I do like the under in the Chargers game for sure.
I think it's fair to say I hate over-under bets. It's just something I'm seeing. Like, will I actually play it? I don't know. I might sprinkle something on like a hardball brother parlay, even though I hate parlays as well. But yeah, just my 2 cents. Just my 2 cents on that. We got the Monday night game, which might be the game of the wild card weekend.
I agree
Minnesota
with that.
Vikings, 14-win, 5 seed on the road at the LA Rams. Minnesota, it's a pick 'em right now. Minnesota's favored by 1. Monday night, 8 p.m. Phil, what you thinking?
Hey man, we've had our conversations. I know we don't
Man.
talk about it here on this pod, but
as soon as I asked you, I just knew exactly this is your platform to go ahead and lay into Sam Darnold. Go
I'm not
ahead,
gonna
man. Have
lay
your
into
moment.
Sam, man. I do not believe in the Vikings at all. Not so much the Vikings. I don't believe in Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold is gonna see ghosts on Monday night, and the Rams are definitely gonna win. I mean, Sean McVay is gonna son Kevin O'Connell. I mean, that's his son, and I just don't see. I mean, as good as that Vikings defense has been, as much as I love Brian Flores, just don't think they're gonna have an answer for Kyron Williams. Shout out to Kyron, your namesake. And Puka Cooper. I just think it's gonna be too much, man. This Rams team. I mean, Sean McVay is just putting on a masterclass this year. This team was not supposed to make the playoffs. This team was projected to have a losing record. I mean, they were talking about Sean McVay not even coaching this year because this team was so bad, and they're in the playoffs.
Nah,
so,
that's real.
I mean, that says everything.
I ain't gonna hold you. I really like the Vikings.
I know you do. You're a closeted fan, low key.
No, I'm not, and I want to take them. But I think when you lose the way you did during a hat and t-shirt game, and you have to go on the road after just thinking about everything you accomplished, I think mentally that's an uphill battle. Not to mention maybe any other head coach, I feel good if they were playing against, but McVay different. He's just different. He 101. He's just one of those. There's not too many of him that come around in the life, and I think I got to go with you, man. I think I got to take the Rams. I think the Rams are going to get the job done at home in prime time. Didn't they play earlier this season?
That's a good question. Let's check it out here.
For some reason, I feel like that was a game.
They did. They beat the Vikings 30-20. That was week 3, 4, 5.
And that was at Minnesota. That was at LA, right?
It was in LA. Yep, same location. Beat them 30-20.
So I usually take repeats a different way. Obviously, if it's a divisional matchup and if there's a sweep in the season, I'm always taking the team that didn't win. For the most part, these splits, just because it's McVay, man. McVay is it's like Andy Reid, bro. When you give him time and give him time to prepare, I just don't see it. And I love Kevin O'Connell. I love him. I think he's an incredible coach. I don't think he rocking with McVay.
Yeah, I agree with you there. And the Vikings were, it looks like 5-2 going into that game. Or
I remember it was a prime time game.
They would have been 5-1, and the Rams were 2-4. So, the records, went out the window that day. It was a 14-14 game at the half. Rams ended up winning 30-20. Held the Vikings to 6 points in the second half. So, yeah, I think I'm rolling with that. I definitely think the Rams will do it again. Again, I know they're 14-3, just like Kansas City is 15-2, but those teams haven't impressed me all season. If I'm being honest.
No, that's fair. I ain't mad at that at all. Yeah. So I guess we'll be back to cover this on Tuesday. Have an episode out for Wednesday and just kind of see where we stood. We'll keep a running tab of our
Yes, sir.
predictions just to kind of see what's going on. Like I said, bet at your own risk. This is not gambling advice. This is just two people just who were professional. We're professional at losing money. So but I'm not wishing that on us, man. I'm not speaking that. We do decent at times.
For sure.
It's gambling. That's why they call it gambling, man. If you can't lose the money, don't bet it. That's all I'll say.
There you go.
We talked about Trey, Defensive Player of the Year. We talked about Ja'Marr, Offensive Player of the Year. Who's your vote for MVP? I know you want Joe, but who do you think is going to win it, Lamar or Josh?
It should 100% be Lamar. No question.
I agree. I don't think that's up for. This is just a real quick hitter category. I don't think it's up for debate.
Yeah.
I think Lamar having a better season than he did when he won MVP last year.
Yeah.
I think he should be the MVP. Jay Daniels or Bo Nix, Rookie of the Year?
I'm gonna lean Jaden Daniels, but I couldn't be mad at either selection. I think Jaden having that little injury kind of affected him a little bit, dealing with that rib injury. And Bo's, kind of turned it on towards the back half of the season. They both led their teams to the playoffs. Obviously, Washington had a better record. So I think, just from an award standpoint, that may play a factor. So I think Jaden will win it, but I wouldn't be surprised if Bo got it.
I got you. Yeah, those are the only two I'm going to really mention because those are like the closest races. Everything else, we'll see what happens. But with that being said, we appreciate all of you. Unfortunately, the Bengals season is over, but Gridiron Jungle will still be around with our Bengals background, even though there is no playoff coverage. We're still going to talk about what's going on around this league. And as time goes on and we get to the Super Bowl, we'll talk about the offseason plans, what you should expect from us, the whole nine. But with that being said, Phil, it's always an honor. Let's enjoy these playoffs stress-free, I guess, since we don't have to worry about our team losing.
Absolutely.
Anybody but the
pay
Chiefs,
T.
baby.
Higgins. Pay T. Higgins, pay Ja'Marr Chase.
Yeah, anybody but the Chiefs.
Nah,
all right, y'all.
I want everybody to lose. Everybody.
Yeah, man. I think I told the story before, but I remember at the end of not this season, but the end of the last season, guy sits in front of me saying, "You rooting for anybody in the playoffs?" I said, "What?" Like it was just
Real
like
quick.
it was. My response was like everybody in the section laughed when they heard me because it was so genuine. Like, I couldn't believe he asked me that. Like, what are you talking about?
Right.
It's Bengals or nobody. What are you talking about? Why would I root for another team?
For sure. Now, before we sign off, before we say our goodbyes, I do want to ask because the next time we record, we'll already have some playoff games that have been played. So I want to get your Super Bowl prediction, not necessarily the score, but I would like to get your matchup and who you have winning.
I'm going with Baltimore and Philly, and I have unfortunately I have Baltimore winning it.
Okay. Not bad at that at all. I'm gonna go with Baltimore and Detroit, and I got Detroit winning it.
I can understand that. I'm not mad at that at all.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with our cousin Jungle Cats, man. Go Lions.
Yeah, listen, I would love if anybody that knows me knows me and Detroit we got a real thing. I love Detroit. I've already said if Detroit makes the Super Bowl, I'll be watching the Super Bowl in Detroit. No ifs, ands, or buts about that. I just love that city as a whole. And I just think it's cool what they got going on. When we went to the draft, shout out to Corey. Shout out to Swagless. But we went, man. It was just cool being downtown and seeing how they incorporate their team and everything, and just the pride that they have. And I just remember that feeling. Yeah, I remember that 2021 feeling of just having a team that it seemed like they came out of nowhere, and just the whole city rallying behind them, and remembering how cool it is when your team's doing well, and just that excitement. And now they have that pressure on them. They have those expectations. This is like their 2022 season when we lost in the AFC Championship game. This is like their moment to go ahead and get something done. They haven't made their Super Bowl yet. I think they can get it done. I just hate their injuries, man. But David Montgomery is going to be back. That's going to be huge for them. That's going to be huge for them because their offense is elite.
Baby.
My healthy's finest, baby. But yeah, we'll see what happens. We'll see how it shakes out.
Definitely.
But all right, Phil, it's been real. We'll talk next week. All of y'all out there, man. We're still gonna end the podcast the same way. Leave you with a hearty hoo day.
Hoo day.